So, which one is better? 22 long rifle carbine or a revolver? That's the topic of today's videos. Guys, welcome to the channel, The Modern Survivalist. If you want to learn more about survival and preparedness, you're definitely in the right place. We've been talking about these things, especially because of the interest recently giving the statements from the European Union, from a bunch of other countries, getting people better prepared. One of the things you don't see any of these countries mention is the use of firearms. Why? Well, because there's this idea that governments should have exclusive use of force when it comes to keeping peace in society. That's great. I understand where they're coming from. That's not where I'm coming from, though. Therefore, I explain these things from a different perspective. My perspective is, having gone through lots of these things that people often theorize about, I can tell you that of the things that I found the most useful, of the things that I can say that have saved my life, I was never at risk of starvation or dying because of dehydration or a number of the other things we talk about here all the time. I will say that these are the things that more than once made a difference between me being safe and my family being safe or not, or making it through or not. Why? Because on those critical moments, there's no 911, there's no police that materializes right there in the moment in which you need it. It is very fast, it is very violent, and if you have the tools and the knowledge, then you're okay, or you have a better chance. But if you don't, you're just out of luck. That's simply the way it works. Therefore, my list of survival kit is a little bit different from what you see coming from countries in Europe, or even from GovUS or the different agencies and civil defense websites. By the way, my idea of the kits you want to have would be, well, I actually have it here, so let me share it with you folks. It's going to be something like this. So this is the home survival kit, right? Those are the, and it's very much, in terms of water, food, flashlight, radio, these are all basics, and these are mentioned by the European Lady of Emergency Preparedness and a bunch of other countries. That's the list I suggest. It's a little bit more complete, and this is what I suggest having in your vehicle, right? And there's stuff you should have in your EDC as well. Now, keep in mind, these are only 2 pages out of 258 pages in the book. The knowledge is always going to be far more important than the tools and gadgets that you have. Knowledge is always more important, right? Keep that in mind. You have French versions of my book, Spanish, English, and all of that is going to be available in Amazon. Now, I've mentioned many times before that you want to have at least some firearm is better than having nothing. Some gun is better than having nothing, especially if you know how to do it, how to use it. That's going to be far more important than the individual weapon. Someone that has no knowledge, no training, no idea on what to do, no idea on how to avoid many times violent confrontations in the first place. Doesn't matter if he's armed with an AK-47 or an FAL. The guy that has a single shot 22 will deal with that better than the guy that does not know how to handle this kind of situation. That's always going to be far more important. It is often the case that you can avoid these violent confrontations and incidents in the first place if you know what you're doing. Having said all of that, and keep it in mind that people watch this from different countries with different legislations, it's been the case that in the past I've recommended for people that don't want to do more involved, aspects of owning a firearm, getting proper firearms training, which is crucial, and most people do not have. They just assume that because their uncle, their neighbor, their dad taught them how to do something, oh, that's going to be good enough. No, it's really not. It's really not. It just shows that you don't know. If you've never had proper firearms training from qualified instructors, and not all of them are. There's a bunch of clowns out there. In fact, I will say it's a rather minority, the amount of instructors that I've came across that actually know what they're talking about. I've came across some complete clowns in my life in different countries. If you don't know, you assume things you have no idea about. Proper firearms training with qualified instructors is crucial. I try to explain some of the basics in my book. It's always better to have hands-on, but at the very least, this will give you the foundation that you need to defend yourself properly with the tools that you have available. Which one is it that you recommend for people that are not interested in going further and simply want something to defend themselves? I've said many times before, go with a revolver. If you just want something to defend yourself as a last resort, a revolver is better than a semi-automatic pistol. Why? Because even though it is not more robust, which is sometimes what people think, oh, the revolver is tougher, right? It's what they use. The cowboys use revolvers in the Wild West. Therefore, it's tougher and stronger. No, it's not. Mechanically, it is far more delicate, maybe not as obvious on the outside, but the internal mechanism, the clockwork involved here behind this plate is a lot more fine, complex, and delicate than a semi-automatic service pistol like a Glock or a number of modern semi-automatic handguns. This is far more delicate, but the advantage is the simplicity of the manual of arms, meaning if you have this thing loaded, if you have rounds in your revolver ready to go, and out of fear you just pull the trigger, you're gonna fire, right? You're gonna shoot, and you do it again, and you're gonna do it again. And there's a simplicity to all of this, which is strongly linked to the instinctive knee-jerk reaction of just tightening the muscles and pulling the trigger, which even a person that has very little experience in the use of firearms will be able to do, and often do even better than with a semi-automatic pistol. The semi-automatic pistol is fine, but it's gonna be requiring an amount of training and time and trigger time and shooting so as to reach a level in which you can do these things out of muscle memory in high stress situations, which the revolver is not as demanding in. Okay, less rounds, not as tactical as a 17 round Glock pistol or whatnot, but for someone that hasn't got that experience and just wants the more basic thing, and that's as far as his training will go, this is what I recommend. Now, this is a video that you're going to watch from a number of countries. There's places like, for example, in Ireland, you can have a 357 Magnum revolver. There's a bunch of countries out there that are far more restrictive when it comes to handguns than carbines. But it is the case that in most places around the world, one of the easiest firearms to get is a 22. And a 22 long rifle carbine semi-automatic is usually going to be easier to get. It's going to be easier to get in many countries according to their legislation. It is going to be more affordable to buy the firearm itself, and the ammunition 22 long rifle is going to be more affordable itself. This means it's going to be cheaper for you to practice and acquire an acceptable level of dexterity, of knowledge on using that firearm. That's going to be far more important than how cool your gun is or is not, all right? These are the things that I would recommend. If you simply want a firearm to defend yourself in an apartment in the center of the city and you live in some small place, yeah, usually a revolver is my go-to advice. Oh, but what if it's very tightly regulated? Well, get yourself a semi-automatic carbine in 22. These are compact. These are very lightweight. This is a Marlin Papoose. You have a bunch of others. You have the Ruger 1022 takedown model, which is also very nice. Any Ruger in 22, any good Marlin in 22. There's a bunch of other brands out there, but maybe those two are the most famous in 22 carbines. That's gonna be something you can use to defend yourself. There's people that think that the humble 22 long rifle, oh, that's just not good enough for self-defense. That is not what data shows us. Data shows us that 22 is basically as good as 9mm, statistically speaking, even more so. Well, how is that even possible? It is clearly smaller. It clearly has less power. This is what police use all over the world. This is what the badass guys that have a revolver for self-defense use, 357 Magnum. How is it possible that 22 has a better track record of stopping people with a one-shot stop in the center? Well, because it matters a lot more where you hit than what you hit with. And even the officer that gathered all of this data for over 20 years was surprised by it. And the only logical conclusion that you can reach is that it matters far more where you hit than what you hit with. And it also matters a lot more the context in which that exchange happened, the context of that self-defense situation. Is it a police officer that's going in at it with a nutcase that is not willing to give up, or is it someone breaking into your house and you nail him one with a 22 and he runs away, or he just drops to the ground and doesn't want to get shot again? Why? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which one of these is. It is still a hole in the body that was not there before. You can still bleed to death. You can get shot again. There's a number of things that matter more than how much joules of energy or foot-pound energy you have between one and the other. And that's something that the tactical badass guys that look, oh, but this is so much, I EDC a 10 millimeter. Okay, yeah, good for you, man. I think that's awesome. Yeah, sure. But you know what? Even bears will go down with 9mm or 22. What about that? Oh, okay. All of the bullshit means nothing. Which one should you get? If I have a restrictive legislation, I will not doubt for 1 second to go with a 22. I'm someone that is thinking of getting more involved and taking proper training. I will go with a Glock 9mm. I'm someone that just wants a gun as a last resort, like a fire extinguisher. If someone breaks into my room where I'm cowering away there and hoping to not have to use it, well, probably this is going to be best. Both options are much better than having nothing at all. Check your local laws. Check what is it that you want out of it and go with that. The 22 long rifle carbine is the most versatile firearm in planet Earth. Nothing is more versatile than this. It can be used for self-defense. It can be used for hunting. It can be used for pest control. It even can be used if you're thinking of defending yourself, like in a more open space, in a homestead. You know, if that's the case, if I may have like longer range shots, I'd rather have the 22 long rifle than the carbine. I know that I can hit someone further away with this easier than with this, and I have more capacity. Each one of those shots will be effective if it lands where it matters, okay? This is great, but handguns have always been specifically for self-defense at very close range. When you can use a rifle, it's usually going to be better than going with a handgun. And even with a 22, the accuracy that you can get out of it, the ease of shooting for people that have no experience with firearms, it has so many advantages going for it that if this is what you are limited to, don't even doubt it. Go with a carbine in 22. If you want to add a revolver or a pistol, depending on what is it exactly that you want, by all means, okay? Guys, that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you have any comments and questions there below. See you next time. Have a wonderful day.